Hey everyone, welcome back, and this is the fifth and last installment of the Cosplay Masterclass Armor series. I am super excited to show you guys all the varying materials and also finishes that I achieved with different paints and also the ways I painted them and all that other good stuff. So let's get started. All right, so I would say a lot of the ways I paint my armor might be a little bit on the controversial side because of the paint I like to use. Some of it is actually very typical of other cosplayers, but you know what? To each their own. And I have to really, really emphasize again, whatever you want to do, it's your cosplay. The way you go about it is perfect. And don't let anyone tell you it's wrong because it's your cosplay, right? So I'm just going to tell you what I like to do for a lot of my finishes, and maybe you can take some of those tips and tricks and incorporate it into your armor work. All right, let's go. So I think one of the most popular things to buy for foam armor is Plasti Dip. This one is in red. You can buy it in 3 different colors, if I'm not mistaken. There's yellow, red. I think there's more, but the typical color is gray and black. I always make a lot of armor in red, mainly a lot of cosplays with games and things like that is my favorite color. So I like to always have red and black. You don't have to buy a colored one. This is just because I like to be a little bit extra. Plasti Dip is really great as a sealant for foam because you can't see it. When you work with foam, they'll have little holes and perforations in the foam, and Plasti Dip will add a coating, several coatings to your foam so you can paint on top of it so it doesn't look like bubbled up and everything like that. So Plasti Dip is amazing for painting on armor. What I like to use for a lot of my armor work, painting wise, is this could be kind of expensive, but I love using gold acrylic spray paint. If you do not have a airbrush machine and you don't have the luxury of one, I would highly recommend getting gold acrylic paint for a lot of your armor work, or you can also buy Liquitex. These bottles run from $8 to $14, depending on store, and also if you use a coupon or not. These are rarely on sale, but I have so many colors in Liquitex, and I use it for every single costume I have that's in armor. And that is my trick. The thing is about these particular brands is that the finish is matte. So you're not going to have a shiny finish at all. If you want that, you had to add a top coat. And I highly recommend a top coat for every single armor piece that you make, because you never know how it's going to turn out, especially if you don't want it matte and it's supposed to be shiny. So always remember that if you're buying this paint, just know it's going to be matte. And they dry fairly quickly, kind of like an airbrush. If you're using an airbrush machine, I use an airbrush, but it's outside. So I just want to show you guys like some of the other ways that you can paint your armor, not using an airbrush if you don't have one. And never feel bad if you don't have an airbrush. It's expensive. And I understand that. So I wanted to show you guys some of my armor that I painted with Liquitex and gold paint, acrylic paint, and you can see how it looks with top coat. And like I said, it's acrylic. So this is a skirt I made. This is about 4 years old. And I used the Liquitex paint in acrylic, and I used a top coat here that was more shiny. And as you can see, it's not matte at all. And the inside of this, I used regular, like a cheap, acrylic paint that I bought from Michael's. So you don't really have to spend a lot for paint. You just had to be pretty, creative with what you do. And this was actually a yoga mat thing, foam mat. I think it's a yoga mat. I had or like the tile mat or something. And I manipulated the shape with the heat gun, and I used barge on the sides, dremelled it down, and made this skirt. This is a super robot character. So this is one of my prized cosplays. And also to get the finish, I had been able to get a sandable top coat because I love using a specific material, and I'll show you right now. So I specialize in a lot of robot costumes. I really love doing Gundam costumes. So for this particular shoulder piece, this is a Goof Custom. If you're not familiar with Gundam at all, this is a Goof Custom. This is actually made with a dome foam inner piece. And there's buckling here. This was sculpted with Bondo and painted on top with Liquitex in a cobalt blue. It's not a cobalt blue, but like more of a sea blue color. And I also did a lot of the detailing with a Sharpie pen. Sharpie pens are really great. If you know, and especially if you break the tip, I know a lot of people will probably be like, what? Why did you do that? I did that, and it gave definition. It's kind of like panel lining. And I think it looked really good up close because it was very bright on my blue. So this was top coated with a regular top clear gloss coat. But this was made with, like I said, resin, coated resin. This is fiberglass. And I sanded it down and molded it and everything. And this had a Liquitex acrylic paint on top, obviously from a bottle, and top coated with a clear gloss coat. And it looks like that. So foam can really look different depending on what you're doing. This bow from Genshin Impact is also foam that was dremelled. Don't know if you guys can see that really quickly. I can show you the whole thing. This is Amber's bow here. This is actually just dremelled foam pieces barged together, and this was painted all by hand by acrylic paint, like the $2 bottle acrylic paint. And we used, I think it was like some kind of glue that I used on top, but you really don't need a top coat on this, especially if you're using like acrylic paint. But if you want a certain finish, like a little bit of a gloss, then you can use a gloss coat on top to seal in the paint. But I used so many paints, I really forgot what it was, but it was just a bunch of acrylics, whatever I had on hand. And I think that, so for some parts of it, I used Sharpie, which is kind of crazy. So never let people tell you what you cannot use or can use, because get very creative with it. I mean, I'm a strong believer in using what you have because it's economical and easy and less stressful. So just whatever you can get your hands on at home, I think it's awesome too. You can also cover foam. I kind of want to zoom in on this. So instead of painting foam, you can seal it or cover it with vinyl. So this is also Amber's pouch from Genshin Impact. I really loved using vinyl on this. This is patent vinyl, and I pretty much sewed these on top of the shape that I made out of foam. So inside of this is just regular 6mm foam here, and I cut it into shape and I glued on top like just regular glue. I think it was fabric tack I used. So I love this stuff. If you need a really quick fix, highly recommend fabric tack to glue on your vinyl to foam. If you're afraid of using barge, I highly recommend using fabric tack. It works for everything. I think I buy this in bulk of 12 all the time. I'm kind of crazy over this stuff. So I highly recommend using fabric tack for any of your needs. Obviously, there's some glue that's hanging off here. You can use acrylic paint to kind of hide that. But you know what? Since I was doing a photo shoot, I didn't really, it didn't really bother me. So, but yeah, you can cover foam with, you don't have to use paint. You can use vinyl. Another really cool thing I like to show people often is that in Asia, when I was there, not many people, especially in Japan, painted their armor. And I was super curious because they live in small quarters or apartments, and how they went about these huge armor sets that needed no paint was that they took a piece of foam like this. They got 4-way stretch vinyl like this. You can buy 4-way stretch vinyl anywhere at any fabric store. And I usually use this for like my costumes. They would cut, they showed me they would cut a piece like this. And the reason why you want to get 4-way stretch vinyl is that when you do cylindrical shapes or dome shapes, you can stretch the vinyl a little bit. It has give, and you can stretch vinyl over cylindrical shapes, and it could, conform to the shape that you have for your armor, and you can obviously see what it's going to do to your armor. It's just magical. So I'm not going to actually do it because it takes time for it to dry, but you can see exactly what it does. You see that? It looks like the foam is painted. I have used this method so many times when I wanted something to look super even. I wanted to save time in painting. I wanted to be very even. So I got 4-way stretch fabric in multiple colors, and I made my armor that way. So whatever foam I had, I got my 4-way stretch vinyl, and I laid it on top of my armor piece, and it looked amazing. You can see, like, it looks like you painted it, right? Look at that. Ta-da! So if you do not want to paint and you don't want to deal with it, get 4-way stretch vinyl, wrap it around your foam, you're done. You know how to deal with top coat, you know how to deal with, acrylic paint, boom. It just takes a lot of manipulation, especially with glues, but I promise you it's a lifesaver, especially if you don't have time to paint and wait for it to dry and all that. I also want to show you guys different ways you can make Worbla look amazing. So I don't use Worbla often, but when I do, I love using this paint. So this is black Worbla. And like I said, I really love using black Worbla because the texture isn't so, it doesn't have a lot of holes and it's more smooth. So I use foam for this, and I wrap the foam with Worbla, as you can see here. And a lot of people said, how did you get the gold so perfect on here? And I layered up the foam. I used, obviously, hot glue to adhere the pieces together. And then I, used a heat gun and pressed it so it wouldn't move. So I actually used, surprise, ta-da! I used Angela's leather paint. I know this is kind of fancy, but let me tell you, it is the best gold I've ever used on Worbla armor. If you are trying to save time and you don't mind spending a little bit on leather paint, this can be used obviously on leather, pleather, and all that. It doesn't have to be just one use. I like to use it on Worbla. And I don't think a lot of people do this. I mean, not that I know of. But since you're doing this masterclass with me, I'm going to tell you, it's freaking amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I've done this for so many projects. This is my recent one. I used a regular brush, those like cheap brushes at Michael's. And then I did about 3 layers of this. It dries really fast. On top of black Worbla, this is amazing. And since this was black already, I wanted it to be matte. So what I did was I got the Angelus flat black, and even though it was a little bit shiny, I didn't mind it. But you know what? I was like, since I have this, I might as well try the flat black. And I added it to the Worbla on top to seal it, and it looked great. So if you have Angelus leather paint, don't be afraid to use it because it seals everything. It dries fast, and it looks amazing. Later, I'm probably going to add some more dimension to this, but I kind of like it really bright gold. This is the 18 karat gold. I use this for a lot of my projects. And the flat black Angelus paint. I think this was about $8. I'm not sure, actually. I think it's $4 to $8, depending on where you buy it. You can buy this on Amazon as well if you have Amazon, or you can just go on to the website. But yeah, that's a huge secret I want to tell you guys. All right, and the last thing I want to show you guys that I think is super magical, depending on the material you use for armor. Let's get this, because I think this is cool. All right, remember during I think it was my second video, I talked about corrugated plastic. Let me cut a piece of this, and let me talk to you guys while I do this. So corrugated plastic, if you guys don't know, it's, obviously a very stiff board that you can buy anywhere. And you can also do this with Sintra. But I'm just going to cut a piece here and show you guys how cool this is. You don't have to paint everything, guys. If you don't want to paint, you can cheat. It's okay. I cheat all the time. But cheating is not always bad, because the finish always, is the same, almost the same, or even better. So be very creative as well, not just by the way you make something, but the tools and products you use on your armor. Get creative, because I wouldn't have known all this stuff if I didn't take chances, all right? So I will show you guys a close-up of this corrugated plastic. Like I said, I use corrugated plastic for my Gundam builds. And I love it because I don't have to do too much prep work. And I'm going to show you right now how I make. And you probably can guess. This is tape. This is actually used for cars. And it's like a vinyl tape. I went to auto body shops and I bought huge rolls. This is a mirrored auto body tape. And I'm going to cut a piece here and show you guys how easy it is to make something look like it's metal. And you can already guess what it's going to look like, because it's exactly like this. So you don't have to actually paint corrugated plastic. You can just cover it with tape, vinyl tape. Like that. And boom, you're done. That's it. I mean, it looks like you painted it, but you didn't. And you can use this for any part of your costume. I love this way because, number one, I don't have to work that hard. Number two, it looks amazing and it reflects so well. You can also, let me try a different color. I think I brought in a carbon fiber red. I used carbon fiber red on a lot of Gundam costumes as well. As you can tell, I'm a huge Gundam fan. And we're just going to show you how it looks. And like I said, you can buy this on Amazon, and the rolls are kind of pricey, but think about the time that you save from painting. Huge time saver. So boom, sticker, armor, done. Don't have to paint it. Don't have to wait for paint. Looks good, stable. It's you just win every time you do this. It's just amazing. So I hope that all of these videos got you excited about making armor. It's actually making me really excited to start on another project. But these are the things that I want to help carry you to making smart choices, or have more fun creating really cool armor sets with minimal work, or maybe less product. I don't know. I just think that in general, any kind of information is good information. And also make sure that you know that making mistakes, it's part of the process. All right. And that concludes my masterclass. I am Vampy Bitme. You can find me on every single social media, I think, with Vampy Bitme. And ask me any questions. I love to answer them. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.